Every year, millions of imperfect babies are born, destined for a life of struggle and hardship. But it is the rest of us who pay the ultimate cost. Billions of dollars that could be used to better society are instead wasted on the malformed. There must be a better way, and there is. Agenda 21 is coming soon.
The Earth just cannot handle the sheer number of humans who live here. Something has to give. And I believe that it's up to us who have lived a good life to make sure that our children will have the opportunity to live good lives too. I have lived a good life.
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 If I were the devil,
They got something to do with Jade Helm, bro.
if I were the prince of darkness, I'd want to engulf the whole world in darkness.
Ain't no doubt.
And I'd have a third of its real estate and 4/5 of its population, but I wouldn't be happy until I had seized the ripest apple on the tree.
Look at this.
Thee. So I'd set about, however necessary, to take over the United States.
Look at
I'd
this.
subvert the churches first. I'd
y'all
begin with a
saying ain't
campaign of
nothing gonna
whispers.
happen?
With the wisdom of a serpent, I would whisper to you as I whispered to Eve. Do as you please. To the young, I would whisper that the Bible is a myth. I would convince them that man created God instead of the other way around. I would confide that what's bad is good and what's good is square. And the old I would teach to pray after me, Our Father, which art in Washington. And then I'd get organized. I'd educate authors in how to make lurid literature exciting so that anything else would appear dull and uninteresting. I'd threaten TV with dirtier movies and vice versa. I'd peddle narcotics to whom I could. I'd sell alcohol to ladies and gentlemen of distinction. I'd tranquilize the rest with pills. If I were the devil, I'd soon have families at war with themselves, churches at war with themselves, and nations at war with themselves, until each in its turn was consumed. And with promises of higher ratings, I'd have mesmerizing media fanning the flames. If I were the devil, I would encourage schools to refine young intellects, but neglect to discipline emotions, just let those run wild. Until before you knew it, you'd have to have drug-sniffing dogs and metal detectors at every schoolhouse door. Within a decade, I'd have prisons overflowing. I'd have judges promoting pornography. Soon I could evict God from the courthouse, then from the schoolhouse, and then from the houses of Congress. And in his own churches, I would substitute psychology for religion and deify science. I would lure priests and pastors into misusing boys and girls and church money. If I were the devil, I'd make the symbol of Easter an egg and the symbol of Christmas a bottle. If I were the devil, I'd take from those who have and give to those who wanted until I had killed the incentive of the ambitious. And what'll you bet? I couldn't get whole states to promote gambling as the way to get rich. I would caution against extremes
What's up,
in
guys?
hard work,
Event
in
Horizon.
patriotism,
Now,
in
I
moral
don't know why
conduct.
people still think that this
I would
Jade
convince the
Helm
young
is
that
just a
marriage is
drill.
old-fashioned,
It's like
that
if you
swinging
saw
is more
somebody
fun,
suspicious,
that
like
what
a
you see on
stranger,
TV
just standing
is the
across
way to be.
the street from your house,
And thus I
and
could
you thought he
undress
was
you
doing
in
something
public,
suspicious, and you walked over
and
to
I could
him
lure
and
you
you're like, hey
into
man, what
bed
are you doing?
with
And he's like,
diseases
no,
for
I'm
which
just
there
doing
is no
nothing. I'm
cure.
just hanging out over here. But you knew.
In
he
other
was
words,
up
if
to
I were the
something,
devil, I'd just keep
acting
right on doing
suspicious.
what he's
Would
doing.
you just take his word for it?
Paul
Or would
Harvey.
you continue to watch him? It's kind of like what's going on right now with this Jade Helm thing. The government swears up and down it's just a drill, but they're acting quite suspicious. You see all this military buildup across many different states: Utah, Texas, California, Colorado, all these different states. You see the military just building up. It's kind of like the enemies are at the gates and nobody even notices. Now, people say that, yeah, this is just Middle East training. They're just training out in Texas, out in Utah, out in California. They're just training because they're just training to go fight in the Middle East. And that kind of cracked me up a little bit because, and sorry, I'm a little sick here. That's why I haven't been doing too many videos lately. But it kind of cracks me up to say that they're training in these states in the United States for a fight that's going to happen in the Middle East. Now, I'm going to tell you a story right here real quick. I had a friend, right? And he went to Iraq. He's been to Iraq and Afghanistan. And before one of his deployments, I got on the phone with him. I was talking like, yeah, man, be safe out there, have a good time, just messing with him and shit. And he said, yeah, thanks. He's like, I got to go, though, because we're doing desert training right now. And so they were doing desert training like a couple of months before they got deployed. So they train where they're going to fight. Why? Like, they were desert training because he was going to Iraq or Afghanistan. I don't know which one it was, but pretty sure it was Iraq. And they were doing desert training. So they trained where they're going to fight. So why would they be training in Texas and Utah and California and Colorado? Or not California, Colorado. Why would they be training in Utah and mainly in Texas? Why would they be training there to go fight in the Middle East? Their cities and towns don't look anything like the cities and towns in Texas. So it doesn't make any sense to me. It's a blatant lie because they're not going to train in Texas to fight in the Middle East. Because when my friend was deployed in the Middle East, they were doing desert training in like the Sahara Desert or the desert in California or whatever. So for them to sit there and say that we're going to be training in Texas to go fight in the Middle East, it makes no sense. It's only a fool would take that. Only somebody who doesn't critically think for themselves would just say, oh, okay, no big deal then. People are naive. They think that the government loves them, that the government will protect them, and that things like this can't actually happen in the United States, but they don't know the real facts. We're not living in a democracy or a republic like it was supposed to be anymore. We live in an oligarchy, and an oligarchy is a government controlled by corporations. And a government controlled by corporations only cares about corporate interests, not the people. That's why I don't understand why people would think that it's so far-fetched for the government to be working with a corporation like Walmart. Who do you think runs this government? Not the people, the corporations. And the corporations only care about making money. A government ran by corporations only brings tyranny. You think these corporations want free people? They want slaves. They want people that will work for them for nothing so they can maximize profits and pay the little guy even less. Makes even more sense when you take into consideration the fact that Obama opened up the borders. He opened up the borders for the corporations because those illegals flooding into our country will work for nothing. And then the corporations can fire those Americans who had jobs in their companies to begin with because the illegals will work for pennies on the dollar. And then the corporations will finally have something closer to a slave than they've ever had before. You think Jade Helm is just a drill? Think again. Maybe you haven't done enough research. This is Event Horizon. Peace out.